Look! Look, the dynamic duo!
Hey guys, welcome to the Dynamic Duo. I hope you guys like this new set that I have. Let me know if you prefer this view from the other view. But anyway, welcome to the Dynamic Duo. I'm Franz.
I'm Kevin. Welcome back to Avengers Tower and the Batcave, ladies and gentlemen. And today it's more Batcave than ever.
It's Batcave today because we are reviewing the Batman. And we saw it last night. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. If I may, allow me to go first. What we're going to do is we're going to do a non-spoiler review as well as a spoiler review. And I think you have more to say than I do. So, as the Batman aficionado and expert of the team, I think your opinion definitely matters. And based on some of the things you said yesterday, very, very interesting observation. So here's what I'm thinking. My review of the Batman. The first thing is our show is a show about objectivity, and we have to be fair, and we have to be true, and we have to be honest. And my review of the Batman is this. I think it is an excellent movie that was extremely well directed. What I mean by that is that there are some movies where scenes are done and they're either done in a weak way that doesn't work, they're either done in a way that is normal, it's perfectly fine, and there are other scenes that are directed, simple scenes that are directed in a way that maximizes the scene. It's very much the same way as comic book art. You know, some comic book artists could take a conversation and somehow make it impactful, whereas some comic book artists can take a very dramatic scene and make it seem boring and stupid and weak. And I have to credit Matt Reeves for being an excellent director. I think that every scene was interesting. Every scene was powerful, well done, well directed, good cinematography. There was no problem with respect to that. I thought the movie was also very interesting. Compelling. I'm going to go and say compelling. I did find myself trying to stay awake, but I say that just to admit that that's what happened, but I don't say it as a reflection of the movie. I'm not saying that it was boring and that's why I was sleeping, but I did find myself struggling to stay awake throughout the movie. No reflection on the movie. Perhaps I was tired. Perhaps who knows what was going on. Another thing is that my objection of the Batman material wasn't as extreme as I thought it would be. I kind of liked the presentation of this Batman. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked powerful. I liked his height, his power, his width, his size. There were some issues about whether or not he was going to be big enough and muscular enough. I had no issues with respect to that. And so there were a lot of positives through this movie. It turned out to be pretty much what I thought it would be, which is to say a very well presented film that didn't necessarily tickle my fancy. One credit that I must give is Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz, in my opinion, blew it out of the park. I mean, I've never seen someone sort of capture a character the way that I've seen her capture Catwoman. She just really just personalized that character in a way that I think she's gonna blow up because of this movie. So these are all the positives. The negatives are, generally speaking, Kevin, the movie was an alternate version of Batman. And I found myself accepting that. I found myself not thinking of that as a negative. Batman, perhaps more than any other character, leaves himself, because of Frank Miller and because it leaves himself to be interpreted. There have been many different Batman in the comics, you know, old Gotham Batman, 1860s Batman, and all kinds of different Batmen. And that's been okay. And I found myself thinking of that movie as one of those. And as such, because of the presentation, because it was interesting, it was actually acceptable to me. That wasn't the problem. The problem was for me that they did something, and this is a non-spoiler review, so I'm not going to reveal. If you guys are interested or if you've already seen the movie, we'll talk about it in our spoiler review. But they did something that, in my opinion, just crossed the line. And it made me less appreciate this movie. It made me not want to count it as one of my favorite movies. One of the ways, and I guess I do have a lot to say about it, forgive me, but comparing it to The Dark Knight, and I know you're not a big fan of The Dark Knight, I much prefer The Dark Knight. Forget about the crossing the line situation. But I prefer The Dark Knight as a movie. I found The Dark Knight to be more compelling, more interesting, more exciting, more cool, more a lot of things than this movie. What they did with, without giving too many spoilers, with Thomas and Martha Wayne, to me was, it's a matter of the approach is the deconstruction of the characters. And I get that you want to tell your version of the character. I get that, and I respect it. But the idea of deconstructing the character to such an extent and to reinvent him or her to such an extent, to me, is lazy, and it's cheap, and it's beneath. It destroys the core of the character a little bit too much. There's more to say, but that's my review. Very well delivered movie. I liked a lot of aspect of it, but overall, it didn't tickle my fancy. What's your thing?
I'll start out nice and easy, or as close to nice and easy as I can get. I have to agree with you on several different points and on several different levels. I enjoyed it, but like you, I enjoyed the movie with reservation. Okay. Artistically and directing wise, I thought Matt Reeves did an outstanding job with his interpretation of the world of Batman and Gotham City. The reason why I say his interpretation is because that's exactly what it was. As you pointed out, there have been so many different iterations of Batman throughout history and throughout the decades. This one works, in my opinion, on several different levels, but for one major reason. This is a Batman for this portion of the generation. It's more of a gothic Batman world. It felt like watching one of the Alex Cross dramas from Seven, Kiss the Girls.
Yes.
Along Came a Spider.
Yes.
That type of thing.
Yes.
I thought a lot of how that was intercut and how that was interwoven into a number of the pieces of the story, thought that was brilliant.
Yes.
Because it did feel like that.
Yes.
At the same time, and I'll wait for the other half of the review. Some of what was done within that space, I thought was a mistake. Like you, I truly believe that Zoe Kravitz ran away with the movie. I truly do. I told you that last night. Yeah. She put a spin on Catwoman, not to take anything away from Michelle Pfeiffer, and not to take anything away from anybody else who's done the character. Okay, or voiced the character, as in the case of Adrienne Barbeau for Batman the Animated Series. But to me, this is the closest that you have gotten to Catwoman, even a young Catwoman, since the days of Julie Newmar with Adam West, and I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
The problem that I have with that, even though she nailed it, is that some of their chemistry seemed a little off. I began to buy into the chemistry of the two characters by the time the film was reaching its end. Some of the earlier material, it was sort of like, exactly what direction are you heading in with this? It just seemed a little disjointed, but that's neither here nor there. Paul Dano, although I do not like what they did with the Riddler, as the character he played, he was scary. There were elements of the Riddler that were scary. Everybody talked about how unrecognizable Colin Farrell was as the Penguin. It is true that he was unrecognizable. I liked what he did as the Penguin, but at the same time, I wish he had been in the movie a little bit more, but I understand why. Because HBO is giving him his own show as the Penguin. So they're going to unravel a lot of what the cagey bird, as it were, is going to do within the space of cable TV. But overall, I like the movie, and I will say this in closing, at least for this portion of it. Robert Pattinson surprised me. He surprised me as Batman. I liked his Batman, but I hated his Bruce Wayne.
Well said. Well said. Oh, that's it. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'm not going to go any further because I can't without spilling anything out within the spoiler review.
Well, that's it. But you made several key points. The movie, it's a very tough thing to critique. The movie, you're right, emulates movies like Seven, as you said, even like Saw, but Saw done in a much better way. And it puts Batman into that sort of world. And I can't say there's something wrong with that. I cannot, in all fairness, say there's something wrong with that. I could imagine someone wanting to say, you know what, let's put this character in this environment. But is it wrong of me to say, what if someone just said, let's put this character in his environment? Why can't we fight for Batman to be Batman? To be Batman from the comics. Why aren't we getting that in any other format except the animated series is what I'm trying to say. And a little bit, and I think, in my opinion, in the Justice League. Listen, it was a very good movie. I definitely recommend it, and I think most people are going to like it. The internet has deemed that it's supposed to be liked, so it's going to be liked. That's the way it seems to work. I don't disagree with the internet in this stage. I just think they crossed the line with respect to a particular issue, the Waynes. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about some of the when we do the spoiler review, I think you'll point out some of the slight imperfections within the storytelling, within the story. But otherwise, listen, good movie, very, very good movie. Where do I rank it? I think The Joker was an excellent, excellent, excellent movie that blew my mind, even though I don't think it's the Joker that I know, but I think it blew my mind. The Dark Knight blew my mind, even though it's not the Batman, but it blew my mind. This one, I don't think blows my mind. It doesn't, the climactic moments, they don't blow my mind the same way that climactic moments of The Dark Knight, for example, blew my mind. When Commissioner Gordon is arguing with Two-Face about saving his kids, that dramatic moment was very powerful to me. I didn't have that equivalent in the Batman. When the two ships are deciding what they're going to do with the trigger, that scene, you know, to me, it was powerful in a way that I don't have an equivalent scene in this movie. It isn't a criticism. It's kind of like saying you're not as great as the greatest. That's not a criticism, but I do think that The Dark Knight was a much better movie for me, much more exciting movie, much more compelling movie than this movie. So guys, let us know what you think. Join us for the spoiler review. I think Kevin's gonna have a lot more to say on the spoiler review.
To the bat polls, Robin.